How's it going, everybody? This is Phil. So today we lost Stan Lee, and obviously everyone knows who Stan Lee is, and he is the creator of many, many celebrated comic book characters under the Marvel banner. Stan Lee gave us Spider-Man. I mean, if all he ever did was give us Spider-Man, that would have been enough. But Doctor Strange, the Incredible Hulk, Thor, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, Black Panther, Daredevil, Iron Man. I believe I said, maybe I didn't. But we all know what he gave the world, and. Man, just his contributions to pop culture, his contributions to the comic book industry are just astronomical. And his loss will be felt just as much. For a man to live a life as long as he has, to make it to the ripe old age of 95, and just about worked right up into the end. His career spans many, many decades, and the characters that he gave us, his creations, his contributions, his storytelling, and his life. He gave everything that he gave. He put into this business, and Stan was able to cross over into television, and we all have seen him make his cameo appearances in the movies, the MCU, as well as other studio movies from Sony and Fox over the years. Stan has in a way become a mascot for the overall Marvel brand. Much in a way, there's Walt Disney has in a sense become a mascot, and it's nice that he's associated with the brand in that way, and younger generations identify him with Marvel. But the guy's contributions go far deeper than that, and I think people, hopefully, as they get older, younger kids who come up and they see these movies, they'll invest a little bit more time and say, wow, who's this guy that always shows up? Like, what did he do? And then they'll be just astonished to find out how much he gave, and all of the characters that they love and all the movies that they enjoy watching. They'll be like, wow, you know what? It wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for him. And that is his contributions cannot be overstated. For me, I've said it before, I really have not grown up being somebody who read comic books, but I always grew up watching and loving superheroes. What young boy really doesn't love characters like Batman and Superman and Iron Man and Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk? And I remember early on watching Super Friends. That was my DC fix. And then I used to love Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends. I can remember Spider-Man. I loved. I absolutely loved Spider-Man as a young boy. And I loved the Incredible Hulk, even though the Incredible Hulk used to just scare the shit out of me. When you used to watch that live action television show with Lou Ferrigno, when he used to change and his eyes would change colors and he would rip out of his clothes and he would just snarl and growl. I would hide my head behind a pillow, but then I also loved him because he was a good guy, even though he was like this crazy madman. And one of the great things about Stan Lee was that even though he created these characters who had these godlike powers, he gave them human traits and human problems, and that made them accessible. Not everybody can relate to being able to fly or lift up a car or shoot laser beams from their eyes or go run through walls, or whatever characters were able to do. But then they had problems. They had relationship problems, and they had some of them had substance abuse problems, and these types of things people latch onto and they identify with it, and it makes the character real for them. And people who are Iron Man fans, when you find somebody else who loves Iron Man as much as you do, they love that character, they embrace that character, and those two people, they get together and they start having a conversation, and there's this common ground, there's this bond. And Stan Lee created bonds all around the world with the creations that he gave us. So people were able to connect from thousands of miles away with their love of the characters that he gave us over the span of his brilliant, absolutely brilliant career. Just going back, I mean, you talk about how long, the longevity of his career, and how long his characters have been around, and how long they'll continue to go on. I was a little boy, 4 years old, 5 years old, and just in love, enthralled with Spider-Man and Incredible Hulk. And decades later, I look at my nephews, and they're 2 years old and 4 years old, and I could see everything that I used to be, they are, and they love the Hulk and Spider-Man and Thor and Iron Man, and Ant-Man and Black Panther. They love it all. And Stan did that. He gave us these characters that were able to stand the test of time. This modern day mythology, this universe of characters with interconnected storylines that cross over into one another, and these team ups that we love to see in the comics. If you're a big comic book reader, now we get to see them on screen in the movies. It really is just an amazing gift to the world. And just you could see it. The little kids grow up with these characters, and they turn, they become adults, and then they have kids, and then they raise their kids on these characters, and hopefully they instill some of the lessons that they learned, identifying with these characters, to persevere and to do the right thing and to make tough decisions and stand your ground. Because look, we need heroes. We always need heroes to look up to, and we have real world heroes. Today is Veterans Day, and there are heroes walking this planet right now. Our beloved soldiers, and happy Veterans Day to everyone who has served. You are greatly appreciated. But getting back to Stan, and what he did and what he gave the world, it will go on forever. It was the movie Gladiator, just to paraphrase. I don't know the exact quote, but I believe it's, what we do in this life will echo for all eternity. And what Stan did in this life, his legacy, what he gave the world, will live on forever. And it's in that way that Stan himself was able to find life eternal. He will go on forever in our minds and in our hearts with what he gave us and what he contributed to comic books, to cartoons, to movies, to video games. Stan will always be around. His presence will always be felt. And it has to be said, unfortunately the world is a little bit darker now that Stan's flame has been extinguished, but he will live on forever in our memories, in our minds, and in our hearts. So, Stan Lee, sir, thank you very much for everything that you've done, everything you've given us, everything that you've created. Thank you for making us smile, for making us laugh, for making us feel something, for having heroes to look up to and to aspire to. It is something that should be applauded, should be celebrated. It's a life that should be celebrated. And sir, I celebrate your life. I say thank you. And I hope high up above, right now, you are looking down and peacefully smiling, knowing that you gave the world everything you had, and we are eternally grateful for it. So, Mr. Stan Lee, one final time, sir, thank you very much. Excelsior, and may you rest in peace.